It was the month of Magh, midwinter, with biting cold. At early dawn, I was walking barefoot with mother on the grassy fields of Ramna, wet with dew. From a distance, I noticed a group of ladies coming towards us. I thought, as soon as they arrived, they would take mother to the ashram. As these thoughts were passing through my mind, the whole field was covered over with a very thick fog, and the ladies could not even be seen. After some 3 hours, when we returned to the ashram, we heard that the party of ladies got tired trying to find us, and when mother was informed about my thoughts, she said, "Your strong desire was fulfilled." Once mother was suffering much from cold and cough. Finding her very unwell, I prayed to her with a tremulous voice of entreaty, "Mother, may you be soon restored to health." She gazed at me and said with a laugh, "From tomorrow I shall be all right, my child." And so it came to be. One morning I found that mother had fever. I came back to my house and prayed at night fervently that her fever might pass into my body. Towards morning I had fever and headache. When I went to mother in the morning as usual, she said at once, "I am all right, but you have fever. Go back to your house, have a bath, and take your usual food." I did so and was all right by the afternoon. Mother always says, by force of pure concentrated thought, everything becomes possible. A book named Sadhu Jivani, The Lives of Saints, got into my hands. There appeared this line, "He, a sadhu, used to advise his devotees always to give good food to the poor." I wrote the following note on the margin. Giving food only dose, not satisfy a human soul. This book was taken to mother at Shahbag, and one of her devotees read out my remark. Mother said nothing. But after a few days, I went to Shahbag quite early in the morning. Just then, a man, like one that in a fit of insanity, came and said, "Give me some food or I die with hunger." Mother searched the kitchen store and gave to the man what she could collect at the time. He wanted water to drink, and mother directed me to give him some. When I came to know that the man was a Muslim, had fasted for 3 days, and had come into the ashram scaling over the enclosure, mother said to me that he had come there to teach me the efficacy of giving food and drink to one who needs it. Everything has its proper place and time. Nothing is lost in the divine economy of the world. One day I said to mother, "Ma, all these days the mantric sounds arise in me in a continuous stream. In the daytime as well as the dead of night, the flow of the sound naturally wells out in my heart like the gushing jets of a fountain." When I said it, some slight tinge of personal satisfaction lurked in the inmost recesses of my heart. Mother gazed at me and said nothing. When I reached home, the sound ceased, and in spite of my best efforts, I could not revive it. The day passed and night wore on, but the joyful stream of mantric melody could not be restored. The next morning, I requested Bhupen to inform mother about my sad plight. Bhupen met mother on the way while she was proceeding to a devotee's house in a carriage, and she began to laugh. It was 10 a.m., and just at that moment I found that the choked-up stream began to flow with its former ease. I came to know from Bhupen afterwards at what time he had met mother. In this connection, mother was heard to observe that in spiritual matters, even the slightest tinge of I-ness retards one's progress. I give below another instance of the promptness with which mother's benign influence helps the growth of our inner life. It is a pity that we fail to recognize its value and do not utilize it for our spiritual upliftment. After the first enthusiasm is over, we relapse into our former condition. Once, mother said with a laugh, "As you chant the divine names or mantras, your mind gradually loses its impurity. Love and reverence for the Supreme Being awaken, and your thoughts become subtle and refined. Then glimpses of higher planes of existence begin to dawn upon you and work for your upliftment. The day I heard these words, I sat in a lonely corner of my house for evening prayers, and to my surprise, I experienced a new joy at the flow of the divine name. They continued without any pause. Sleep came on, and as soon as I woke up, those joyous vibrations again thrilled my being. The next day, the same joyful spell went on in an undertone due to the pressure of office routine. And towards dusk, when I disposed my mind for prayers, the bliss of the previous evening filled my heart so that there was no inclination to sleep at all. At the dead of night, the flow was so intense that I thought I would feel relieved if there were a pause, but it went on with its own momentum. I had never practiced sitting in the gumuk posture. That's the pose of the body consists in laying the legs flat on the ground on either side of the body with an erect backbone and the face looking straight forward. Towards the early hours of the morning before dawn, I found myself in that posture. During those hours, my body and mind were immersed in a sea of inexpressible joy. Tears welled out of my eyes without a stop. In one spell of meditation, I passed the whole time motionless and was completely absorbed. One morning in those early days of self-surrender, I sat in silence. My heart was full of a deep emotion for Mother's love and divine grace. A song in Bengali took shape with the words, "Let thy worship, thy hymns of praise, be the eternal solace of my life. Let my life brim over with the songs of thy adoration, thoughts of thy divine grace. I shall see thee, Mother, in the wide open sky with the wistful eyes. I shall not ask for any boon, say not a word. I shall only lay myself down on thy feet with tears of bliss. I shall move about in thy endless expanse of heaven, scattering songs like flowers representing thy glory. I shall steep myself in thy bliss, chanting thy holy names and sending their echoes throughout the universe. All my actions, all my thoughts of religion are thy worship. O Mother, give me bhakti, the spirit of adoration, firm faith, so that I may take thy feet as the sweet anchor of my life." I gave this song the title, "The Song of a Crazy Fellow," and I sent a printed copy of it to Mother. Afterwards, I heard that when it reached her, she was cutting and trimming a gourd for the kitchen with a billhook. While the song was being recited to her, the gourd fell from her hands, and she sat motionless for some time. When I met her afterwards, she said, "The world is the embodiment of bhava, or the idea of the good. All created things are its material expressions. If you can once rouse your soul with the divine bhava, you will come to find that in this universe there runs one play of the bhava. Without it, man fumbles about and misses the real import of life." A few days later, we were all sitting at the Siddheshwari ashram when Mother said, "Sing that song of yours bearing the title of Pegler Gan, which is another way of saying the song of a crazy feller." I had long given up the practice of singing songs. Besides, there were many people present, and I hesitated. Mother laughed, saying, "You have only composed a song of a crazy fellow, but are you not yet crazy enough to ignore the criticism of the world?" These words sank deep into my soul, and with a trembling heart and tremulous voice, I sang. I composed many such songs and offered them at her feet. She expressed her delight over some, and others she passed over with mute approval. There were many occasions when Mother was away from Dhaka and songs welled up of my heart during my evening prayers or during the long midnight meditations. I could see Mother's figure standing before me motionless and listening to my raptures. When Mother returned to Dhaka after touring different places, she would ask me to repeat particular songs I had sung on different occasions in my own room. It was really strange that she could name even those songs that had not in any form been presented to her before. My intense longing to be by Mother's side sometimes wafted me away towards infinity. During this stage, the few songs I composed were published in one volume under the title, Towards Thy Holy Feet. In addition to these, there was no end to songs and poems and short sketches which I wrote on Mother. When Mother knows for certain through all this scrap heap that this is your last life on earth, she said, not only is this life, but also many of your former births. There is no knowing how many hymns for me were composed and destroyed by you. Inspired by Mother's all-embracing love, an aspiration for the life divine was kindled in me, but my senses sought crude pleasures instead of higher and more refined and invigorating spiritual food. In some Vaishnava treatises, we read, the man who hankers after the material objects of the senses for indulgence of the tongue, stomach, and sex cannot find Lord Krishna. Such was the case with me. Mother's boundless grace and affection could not hold me fast to her feet at all times of my life and in all my thoughts. It is indeed difficult for a man caught in the snares of avidya, the illusion that the body or mind are the self, to find an abiding shelter of peace in the divine. One day I said to Mother, even a piece of stone would have changed into gold at such hallowed touch as yours, but my life has proved a dismal failure. And she replied, that which takes a long time to come into being matures into an enduring beauty after an equally prolonged span of development. Why do you worry over it so much? Hold fast to my guiding hand like a trustful child. I listened to her chastening words of encouragement with all eagerness, yet I felt a scorching dryness warping every fiber of my being. I cite below an instance to show how her penetrating vision kept watch over my struggles. When under the impulse of a deep devotion, I began to seek her presence every day, men were not wanting who cast unworthy aspersions on my conduct. Their reflections made me doubtful, and I began to feel that it was but a common human weakness to approach this man or that for one's spiritual upliftment. And so I stopped going to Mother, as my mind was wavering under criticism. I decided to read the Yoga Vashista, a treatise in Sanskrit on Vedanta, and improve my higher life through the culture of the intellect. For 7 or 8 days, I devoted myself to a close study of the book. One afternoon, when I was having a rest in my house, my servant informed me that an old Brahmin from the village of Gadoa desired an interview with me for 5 minutes only. I met him, and he told me that he had gone to the house of my friend Niranjan Roy and of Dr. Sansak Mohan, but could not meet them. That was why he had come to trouble me. He added, I have heard that you are a great devotee of Mother. Will you kindly tell me what Mother is like and what her special qualities are? At these words, I sat speechless, tears rushing to my eyes. And he said, I have received an answer to my queries, but do please tell me why there are tears in your eyes. And I replied, I have been busy all these days with other matters, leaving off all thought of Mother, and you have chosen to come to me to make inquiries about her. I have to hang down my head in shame and regret. How wonderful are Mother's ways! It was through her own influence that you were led to me just in time to bring me back to my better self, and for this I am indebted to you indeed." And he said, "Please take me to Mother." And after meeting her, said, "I too lost my mother long ago, but as soon as I met Mother, my sorrow about my mother's death vanished altogether." I narrated to Mother all that had passed in my mind and wept at her feet. She began to laugh and said, "In these days, unless one is forced to move along a certain path, one cannot proceed.